College football has started, but people are still taking shots at Colorado and the roster that Deion Sanders has assembled. I'm going to talk about that and more on today's episode of Locked On Buffs.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borwer. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about who has the worst roster in college football, according to one analyst. Hint, it's Colorado, according to him, not according to me. People are betting the house in Colorado. I'm going to talk about some of the most common bets that ESPN is reporting and is seeing ahead of the college football season. And then Travis Hunter, he provided his take on who will win the Heisman this season. Hint, it was Travis Hunter. But before we start this episode, I need you guys to know that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Okay, let's dive right in. I have a video to play, so we'll just kind of get to that. But some context. This is Tom Luginbill from ESPN. He's an analyst, recruiting analyst, and sideline analyst for ESPN. He made an appearance on a podcast called The Next Round, and he had a lot to say about Colorado's roster. I will play the video, and then I will kind of go over his talking points after the video is done. It's only about 30 seconds. So without further ado, let's dive into what the heck he has to say. Because it was not great. If you're a Colorado fan, it was not great to see or hear. I think it kind of, and I'll get to it when I get after the video. But this has been a stance I've been taking this entire time, not about the roster, but about how people cover Colorado. Okay, here we go.
Finally see for all the hoopla and all of the hype going into the offseason with Deion Sanders in Colorado, it does not mask the fact that they don't have any players on that roster. And you thought UMass was the worst roster in college football? It may be Colorado's. Now, I say that. Do they have a quarterback? Yes. Do they have two starting corners that could be NFL guys and one of them plays both ways? Yes. They are so devoid of talent up front on both sides of the ball. I don't know how they're going to keep their quarterback upright. I think we're gonna finally see for all the hoopla and all of the hype.
Okay, so sorry, that was just the video restarting itself. Yeah, let's dive right into it. So, a couple things. I will say it's nice of him to acknowledge that they have a good quarterback in Shadur. They have Cormani and Travis. But other than that, he kind of said that this roster is devoid of talent and the worst roster in the country outside of UMass, who, if you guys aren't familiar with UMass, which you probably shouldn't be because they haven't done anything ever, this is the kind of comparison that he is making to Colorado's roster. So this is UMass's record the past few seasons: 1-11, 1-11, 0-4 during the COVID year, 1-11, 4-8, 4-8, 2-10, 3-9, 3-9, 1-11, 1-11, 1-7, 3-7, 5-2, which their football program dates back to 2012. So it went from, they had a program from 1882 to 1906, and then disbanded or wasn't at the Division I level or whatever. And then they brought it back in 2012 in the MAC, and they've finished below 500 every year since bringing their football program back in 2012. The only time they've only finished above 500 twice in program history, in 1901 and in 1889. So that is kind of the comparison that he is making there. And then you look at their recruiting. They landed the 82nd recruiting class in the country this past season. They did bring in 22 transfers, which I think will probably help them out a little bit. But they only landed, 9 guys that were ranked by 24/7. So yeah, very interesting comparison there. Shout out to UMass. They did win their first game, so they have a chance to record their most wins since. I mean, if they win a second game, it'd be their most wins since 2018. So that'd be exciting for the Minutemen. But in terms of what he says about Colorado, realistically, you look at Colorado's roster, and I think the offensive and defensive line units they're questionable, but they have some good players. I don't think I think this is kind of, and I talked about this last week or the week before. People either want to be extremely right or they want to be extremely right. So they're taking extreme measures when it comes to covering Colorado. So they're either going to they're going to win the championship right away, or they're going to win a championship by year 2, or they're going to win the Big 12 now. It's not the Pac 12 anymore. They're going to win the Big 12 and Deion Sanders and Coach Prime's second year. Or it's the Coach Prime's going to fail miserably. He's going to never coach again. This is going to be the worst thing ever. We're going to look back at this. There's no in between. And I think this is a prime example of the latter, where it's like he's going to fail. I think that's kind of the vibe he's putting off here. Realistically, I've talked about the concerns with the offensive line. The defense line, I'm a little less concerned about. They have a former 5-star on there. They have Jordan Dominic, who led Arkansas in sacks. Very productive there. They have Derek McClendon from Florida State. They have guys who are good players. Are they the most deep groups in college football? No. But to say they're the worst roster in college football outside of UMass is pretty crazy, because there's going to be some pretty bad teams out there. And I don't know if Colorado's one of them. I think they have a chance to win 6 games. Obviously, the season starts this weekend, so we'll truly find out how good they are, how good they can be as the season goes on. But yeah, I think this is kind of one of the extreme takes. I think comparing a program to UMass is and this is no offense to UMass, but this is going to sound offensive. But that's just as low as it gets for a comparison. It is what it is. UMass is trying out there. They have a coach in his second year, second year in Don Brown, who, I mean, every coach there has struggled. I don't know what it is, whether it's the fact that they're independent, so they don't play any conference games. They're a program that has historically struggled. They are in Massachusetts, so that's not really the hot spot for top talent. Whatever the issues are at UMass, maybe the program is not, they don't invest in the program. That's a pretty crazy comparison. I won't lie to you. I think that's kind of a reach, if you will. Especially for someone who is the director of scouting or whatever his title was. Let's see what his title is: recruiting / scout, as well as analyst. So, I mean, whatever. I think that's just kind of a bold take. And I think it's obviously in the direction in not going against Coach Prime, but kind of denouncing what he's done. He brought in the number 1 transfer portal class. He brought in a top 25 recruiting class. When he was hired on the job for about 10 minutes, he had a top 25 recruiting class. So I think that's a pretty crazy comparison. Obviously, only time will tell, and I think that's the best way to handle these situations. If you're Colorado, you don't really let this get to your head. Maybe you kind of play with it a little bit. If you find success, you just be like, oh, worst roster, use it as motivation. I think there's a lot of reasons. I don't think any college football program or anybody in any sport or aspect of life should need someone else's opinion to motivate you, but we're all human, and people's thoughts and beliefs kind of affect us in certain ways. And so I think this could be a good motivational factor for Colorado moving forward. But yeah, I was very surprised to see that. But hey, that's college football for you. So what other way to start the season than still addressing these kind of takes? But either way, what I need you guys to know is that this episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by BetterHelp. There's times in life where you feel uncertain, whether you're going down the right path or if you need to get through a challenge or something. Sometimes there's tough choices in life. And the path forward isn't always clear. Sometimes we need assistance, or sometimes we just need another vantage point or someone to help us talk through our decisions. So whether you're dealing with decisions around your career, personal relationships, or anything else that you feel that you need some help, therapy helps you stay connected with what you really want while you navigate life. So you can move forward with confidence and excitement, trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values. I personally have talked to people before. I think it's helpful to kind of go over things with people and just have someone else not only provide a helping hand, but just provide a listening ear. I think that's all we need. So it's helpful to learn positive coping skills and how to set boundaries, and empowers you to be the best version of yourself. And it isn't for just those who've experienced major trauma. So this is why you need to try BetterHelp. if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and it's based around your schedule. So it's not like you have a certain appointment at their time. You pick the times, you pick everything. It's based on what you need. So you just need to fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And if you need to, switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedoncollege today to get 10% off your first month. That's better, H-E-L-P, help.com/lockedoncollege. Okay, let's dive right back into it. We talked about Colorado having the worst roster in college football. I don't think that's true. But again, we'll find out as the season progresses. I think Coach Prime's number one transfer portal class and top 25 recruiting class kind of rankings alone disproves that. But I think when we see them take the field, uh, Colorado's either going to prove people wrong or they're going to prove them right, and we'll never hear the end of it. But either way, that's college football at its finest, I guess you could say. I'm talking about let's bet the house. So a really interesting article was written by ESPN's David Purdom. It was all of the most, or I guess the most common bets that people are making. So, and as you can imagine, with the new hype around Colorado, there was a lot of Colorado bets. So it says Colorado, a 500-1 long shot that's projected to win just a handful of games, is the biggest liability facing multiple sportsbook in their odds to win the national championship. Coach Deion Sanders' Buffaloes have attracted more national championship bets at MGM Sportsbook than 4 teams ranked in the top 10 and Texas, the favorite in the Big 12. At PointsBet, more money has been bet on Colorado to win the national championship than Ohio State, and more money has been staked on the over for Colorado's win total at 3.5 than any other team. So here are some of the bets that I think, not that I think, that have been placed that are kind of standing out. So there's someone placed $1,000 to win $250,000 on Colorado to win the national championship. It's $4,500 to win $450,000 on Colorado to win the Pac-12, and then if you bet $1,000 to win $125,000 for Deion Sanders to win the Heisman. So that's pretty insane. When you look at who the odds to win the national championship, it goes Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, LSU. USC has plus 1,000 odds. So when you look at Colorado's odds at plus 25,000, that's pretty crazy. Conference title favorites. You look at the Pac-12, it's USC at plus 170. Obviously, Colorado is not in the mix there. And then the Heisman finalists, which I think Shadur was, plus 12,500. These are the Heisman candidates. The lowest one is Cade Klubnik, the Clemson quarterback, at 1,600. So what does this show you? What does this tell us? Obviously, I just rattled off a bunch of numbers there. Let me get to my explanation after I tell you guys about something very cool that I think you guys should all check out. The college football season's here, and this season, Locked On is kicking up our coverage with Locked On College Football Kickoff Live. Each Friday, Locked On will go live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on every Locked On College YouTube channel. College Football Kickoff Live will cover playoff implications, the conference rivalry games, and go in depth like only Locked On can, including insight and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every day. Find Locked On College Football Kickoff Live every Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on any Locked On College YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. So yeah, go to my Locked On Buffs channel, and they'll be covering football. They'll be covering Locked On. They'll be covering college football because the season's here. Let's get excited. Okay, but back to the bets. What does this tell us? One, people are very confident in Deion Sanders. They're very confident in what Coach Prime is building. They're very confident in the message he's relaying. And even with the people that are saying, oh, it's the worst roster in college football, or, oh, he hasn't succeeded at the Power 5 level, it shows confidence. It also shows that if they do win, people are going to be making a lot of money, which, hey, get that bread, get that money. Realistically, would I place some of these bets? No, I think the bet that I would feel most confident in, if I had to pick from one of the 4 that I mentioned, would probably be the over, the 3.5 over. I've talked about their schedule multiple times. I think they could beat Nebraska. I think maybe even TCU. This TCU game is really weird to me. I don't really know what to expect here. There's a lot of variables that have changed, and people are still really confident in TCU for some reason. We'll find out. But I think they could beat Nebraska. I think they could beat Stanford, Arizona, Washington State, Arizona State. Those are, I'm not saying they'll win all of those games, but those are winnable games. I think they can win those games. So if I was a betting man, which I'm not, Those would be the kind of the bets that I'd look for, or the games that I look at to kind of get them at the over mark. But another thing this shows is that there's excitement around Colorado. Colorado has been a program who I don't want to compare them to UMass because I think that's kind of doing Colorado a disservice. Again, sorry UMass. It's just the program is not where it needs to be before we start respecting it. Not saying that we're not going to respect it, but you know what I mean. Colorado's been struggling. UMass has always been struggling, um, but Colorado's been bad. Colorado's been irrelevant, and that's the worst thing you do is be bad and irrelevant. And Colorado has been that prior to Coach Prime. They had one successful season in the Pac-12. They've had two winning seasons in the past like decade. One of them was the COVID year, so we can't count that. It's just the program's kind of, for lack of a better term, been dead. And now he's rejuvenated it. He's brought interest into the program, and he's kind of helped save the program. Colorado's going to the Big 12 because Coach Prime is obviously a major staple of college football right now. And I think a lot of people realize, especially Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, realized having him in the conference will only help views, especially for a conference who, outside of Texas and Oklahoma, I don't say none of their games, but a lot of their games are not marking the most watched games in college football. So if you're able to bring in a headliner like Coach Prime is, that helps. That helps a lot because Texas and Oklahoma were bringing a lot of the views. So good for Colorado. Good for the people who, if they win, congrats. If they don't, I mean, you took your shot. They're all great odds, but there's a reason that they're great odds. So we'll find out as the season goes on if any of these come close. I still think the 3.5 win total is probably the safest one. The other ones, I personally want to do it. The national championship thing, just because we've seen that it revolves around blue chip ratio on the roster. So right now there's, I think, only 15 teams in college football that can win the title based on how many blue chips they have. You have to have at least, I think it's like 50. I think it's like 51% or something like that. Was the lowest mark, and Colorado's obviously does not have the blue chip ratio yet. I'm sure they'll get there eventually under Coach Prime and his recruiting set with his recruiting savvy and stuff, but they're not there yet. That's one reason. Another reason, it's usually a team within the top 25. So the odds are against them. The trends are against them. But Coach Prime's proved a lot of people wrong, and I wouldn't be shocked if he eventually proved me wrong about this. So we'll just have to wait and see. Another thing I need you guys to know, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready for the NFL season with an incredible offer from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join the FanDuel app. The app is easy to use and can be used on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit fanduel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Okay, another bet that you could probably play somewhere. Travis Hunter for Heisman. The corner, receiver, do it all type of guy for Colorado has a show on Bleacher Report now where he live streams and answers questions from fans and stuff like that. And he was asked about his Heisman candidates. And so here is his take on who he thinks can and will win the Heisman. Let's dive in.
3, Caleb Williams. Now I'm going to say that because y'all just seen this game this coming up weekend. Hey, he's what they've been wanting. He's that guy. He's all of the above. I mean, he go out there, work hard. I can tell you work hard. He know what to read. He know when to get out the pocket. He know when to stay in the pocket. He just make good decisions. And I mean, that's what you need at the quarterback spot. And number 2, Deion Sanders.
There you go.
My quarterback. That boy, good. Y'all are going to see this year coming up. He can read. A lot of people just don't know. He can get out that pocket and move now. He ain't just no pocket passer. And he made great decisions. He know when to get the ball out of his hands. He know what's going on and when to get that ball to who he need to get that ball to. What's the right timing. He know how to get the ball to his playmakers and let them go to work. And number 1, come on, man. There's only one choice, and that's me. Both sides of the ball, I'm going for it all. Gots to. Sophomore year, like I said on Instagram, Heisman loading. That's my goal. That's what I'm reaching. Sometimes you got to put your goals out there, let everybody know what you're reaching.
So yeah, I mean, right there, you heard it here first, folks. Colorado's gonna have two Heisman finalists. No, realistically, and I wrote about this over at Athlon, so you guys want to go check it out. The Heisman for Travis Hunter, I think if he lives up to his potential, obviously it is very much in the realm of possibility. I think next year it would probably be more possible than this year, but we'll see. Um, these are some notes I have about Heisman because I'm all about the trends. Obviously, trends can be broken. That's why we have trendsetters and trend breakers. Um, but here's the thing: if he were to win the Heisman, he'd be the first non-quarterback since 2020 when Devontae Smith did it. And all of the non-quarterback Heisman winners over the past decade, over the past 20 years, have gone to Alabama. So he'd be the first non-quarterback to win it that didn't attend Alabama since Wisconsin's Ron Dane in 1999. So obviously that would be quite an achievement for Travis. That'd be quite an achievement for Colorado. Um, Listen, I think obviously you have to be confident in yourself, and so I don't fault him for that. But I think I'm very excited to see how good he will be. I think all of college football is excited to see how good he would be. When this guy right here, Coach Prime, says that he Travis is better than he was at this age, that's some pretty high praise. So I'm not too shocked that Travis is willing to kind of put himself out there and as a Heisman finalist. Now, obviously, if he doesn't really come close, he'll be a meme or something. But when you're that good, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, if you're Colorado fan, look out. You might have two Heisman candidates on the team this year. So that'd be exciting if you're a Buffs fan. Either way, I need you guys to know that this episode of Locked on Buffs is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like they all are. My name's Kevin Borber. This has been another great episode. I appreciate you guys for subscribing. Excuse me. We just surpassed 2,500 not too long ago. Let's keep that number going up and up. We're gonna have some great guests coming up. We're gonna have some film breakdowns after the game. So I look forward to you guys being along the journey. College football's coming. Let's get excited. Follow along so you don't miss anything here about Colorado. I appreciate you guys. Have a great day.